Have you ever wondered if money can buy everything? Can it buy happiness? Can it buy love? We're about to dive into a story that explores these very questions, a story about power, ambition, and the surprising places where love can bloom, even in the most unexpected circumstances. Our tale centers around two individuals from vastly different worlds, their lives about to collide in a whirlwind of professional ambition and undeniable chemistry. Imagine a man, Alexander Sterling, a name whispered in boardrooms with a mix of awe and envy. He's not just rich, he's a titan of industry, a billionaire CEO who built his empire from the ground up. He's known for his sharp mind, ruthless business tactics, and an almost impenetrable emotional wall. Alexander is a man who controls his destiny, or so he thinks. He's used to getting what he wants, when he wants it. But what happens when what he wants is something money can't buy? Now, picture a woman, Isabel "Izzy" Diaz, a journalist with a fire in her belly and a passion for truth. She's not interested in the glitz and glamour of the billionaire lifestyle. Izzy is driven by a deep sense of justice and a desire to make a difference. She's smart, independent, and fiercely protective of her integrity. She's seen firsthand how power can corrupt, and she's not easily impressed by wealth or status. In fact, she's rather skeptical of it. Their paths cross at a high-profile business conference. Alexander is there, commanding attention, radiating power. Izzy is there, notebook in hand, observing, analyzing, and looking for the real story behind the carefully crafted image. She sees through the polished exterior, the expensive suits, and the carefully chosen words. She sees the man beneath, a man shrouded in mystery and perhaps, a hint of vulnerability. From their first encounter, the air crackles with tension. There's an undeniable spark. A magnetic pull that neither of them can ignore. But it's not a simple attraction. It's a clash of worlds, a battle of wills. Alexander is intrigued by Izzy's independence, her sharp wit, and her refusal to be intimidated by him. She's a challenge, a puzzle he can't quite figure out, and that only makes him more drawn to her. Izzy, on the other hand, is wary. She's seen men like Alexander before, men who use their wealth and power to manipulate and control. She's determined not to be another notch on his belt. She's also drawn to him in a way she can't explain. There's something about him that intrigues her, a vulnerability she glimpses beneath the surface. But she's not willing to compromise her principles for anyone, no matter how charming or powerful he may be. Their interactions are a dance of push and pull, a constant battle of wits. He challenges her, she challenges him right back. He tries to impress her with his wealth and influence, but she's unimpressed. She sees through the facade, and she's not afraid to call him out on it. This honesty, this refusal to play his game, is what makes her so irresistible to him. As they spend more time together, they begin to see glimpses of the real person behind the public persona. Alexander reveals his vulnerabilities, his insecurities, the burdens of his success. Izzy shares her dreams, her passions, her fears. They connect on a deeper level, a level that transcends their vastly different backgrounds, but their budding connection is threatened by the very forces that brought them together. The world of high finance is a cutthroat world, filled with ambition, betrayal, and hidden agendas. Alexander's business rivals are always looking for a weakness, a way to bring him down. And Izzy, in her pursuit of the truth, uncovers a story that could not only jeopardize Alexander's empire but also put her own life in danger. She stumbles upon some disturbing information about a deal Alexander's company is involved in, a deal that could have devastating consequences. She knows she has to expose the truth, no matter the cost. But doing so could mean betraying Alexander's trust, the man she's starting to fall for. Alexander, meanwhile, is facing his own demons. He's used to being in control, but he's starting to realize that he can't control everything, especially matters of the heart. He's falling for Izzy, but he's afraid to let her in completely. He's been hurt before, and he's not sure he can trust her, especially when her journalistic instincts clash with his business interests. The tension builds as Izzy gets closer to the truth. She knows she's walking a dangerous line, but she can't turn back now. She has a responsibility to her readers, to the truth, and to herself. But what will it cost her? Will she lose Alexander's trust? Will she put herself in danger? Alexander is torn between his business interests and his feelings for Izzy. He knows she's digging into something that could destroy everything he's built. But he also knows that she's not doing it out of malice. She's doing it because it's the right thing to do. He respects her integrity, even though it threatens him. As the story unfolds, we see the complexities of their relationship. It's not a simple love story. It's a story about two people from different worlds, trying to find common ground. It's a story about trust, betrayal, and the sacrifices we make for love and for what we believe in. The question remains, can a billionaire CEO truly win a woman journalist's heart? Can their love survive the pressures of their vastly different worlds? Can they overcome the obstacles that stand in their way? And what will happen when Izzy's pursuit of the truth puts her on a collision course with Alexander's carefully constructed world? These are the questions that will drive our story forward. The stakes are high. The risks are great. And the answers are far from certain. Their story is just beginning, and the journey is sure to be filled with twists, turns, and unexpected revelations. Will their love conquer all? Or will the forces pulling them apart prove too strong? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, their lives will never be the same. As Izzy delves deeper into the corporate secrets, she uncovers a web of deceit that reaches far beyond what she initially imagined. The deeper she digs, the more dangerous it becomes. She starts receiving anonymous threats, subtle warnings to back off. But Izzy is not easily intimidated. She's determined to expose the truth, no matter the consequences. Alexander, meanwhile, is struggling with his own internal conflict. He's torn between his loyalty to his company and his growing feelings for Izzy. He knows that she's getting close to uncovering something that could bring his entire empire crashing down. But he also knows that she's doing what she believes is right. He respects her integrity, even though it puts him in a difficult position. That he tries to warn her, to subtly steer her away from the danger. But Izzy is too smart to be fooled. She knows that he's hiding something from her, and she's determined to find out what it is. This creates a rift between them, a growing sense of mistrust. One evening, Izzy receives a cryptic message, a tip about a secret meeting that could reveal the key to the entire puzzle. She knows she has to go, even though it could be a trap. She goes alone, armed with her courage and her determination. The meeting takes place in a deserted warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Izzy arrives to find the place eerily quiet. She's immediately on alert. She senses that something is wrong. As she ventures deeper into the warehouse, she hears a noise, a muffled sound coming from a back room. She cautiously approaches, her heart pounding in her chest. She pushes open the door to find two men arguing. They're talking about the deal, the one Izzy has been investigating. They mention names, dates, and amounts of money. Izzy pulls out her phone, trying to record the conversation. But before she can get a clear recording, one of the men turns around and sees her. He lunges for her, trying to grab her phone. Izzy fights back, but she's no match for his strength. He wrestles the phone from her grasp and throws it to the ground, smashing it to pieces. Izzy is terrified. She knows she's in danger. The man advances towards her, his eyes filled with menace. Just as he's about to grab her, Alexander appears. He bursts into the room, his face a mask of fury. He tackles the man, and a fight ensues. Izzy watches in horror as the two men grapple, exchanging blows. She knows she has to do something, but she's frozen with fear. The fight spills out of the room and into the main warehouse. The other man joins in, and now it's 2 against 1. Alexander is outnumbered, but he's fighting with a ferocity Izzy has never seen before. He's fighting for Izzy, for her safety, and for the truth. Izzy finally snaps out of her fear and runs to Alexander's aid. She grabs a nearby metal pipe and swings it at one of the men, hitting him in the shoulder. He cries out in pain and stumbles backward. This gives Alexander a chance to gain the upper hand. He manages to knock the other man unconscious, and then turns his attention to the one Izzy hit. He subdues him, pinning him to the ground. "Get out of here, Izzy," he yells, his voice strained. "Go. I'll handle this." Izzy hesitates, but she knows he's right. She can't do any more good here. She runs out of the warehouse, her heart pounding in her chest. She doesn't stop running until she reaches her car. She jumps inside, locks the doors, and starts the engine. She's shaking, terrified, but also filled with a newfound respect for Alexander. She's seen a side of him she never knew existed, a fierce protector, a man willing to risk everything for her. She drives away, her mind racing. She knows she can't go to the police. Not yet. She needs to figure out what's really going on, who's behind this, and why they're so desperate to stop her. She decides to go back to her apartment, to gather her thoughts and plan her next move. Meanwhile, back at the warehouse, Alexander is dealing with the two men. He knows they're not the masterminds behind this. They're just pawns in a bigger game. He questions them, trying to get information, but they're tight-lipped. They're afraid, more afraid of whoever they're working for than they are of him. Alexander realizes he's not going to get anything out of them. He calls his security team, tells them to come and take care of the men. He knows he needs to get Izzy out of danger, to protect her from whoever is trying to silence her. He drives to her apartment, but she's not there. He calls her phone, but it goes straight to voicemail. He's worried sick. He doesn't know where she is, and he's afraid that she's in danger. He leaves her a message, telling her to call him as soon as she can, that he needs to see her. Izzy, meanwhile, is doing some investigating of her own. She goes to the local library, searching for any information she can find about Alexander's company, about the deal she's been investigating. She pores over old newspaper articles, financial reports, anything that might give her a clue. She's looking for a connection, a link between the deal and the people who are trying to stop her. She finds a mention of a name she recognizes from the conversation she overheard at the warehouse. It's the name of a powerful businessman, a man known for his shady dealings and his connections to organized crime. She realizes that this is bigger than she thought. This isn't just about a business deal gone wrong. This is about something much more dangerous, something that could have far-reaching consequences. She finally decides to call Alexander. She knows she needs to tell him what she's found, that he needs to know who they're dealing with. She's still wary of him, still unsure if she can trust him completely. But she knows that she needs his help. Alexander answers the phone, his voice filled with relief. He tells her he's been worried sick about her. They agree to meet, to talk about what happened at the warehouse and what Izzy has discovered. They meet at a quiet restaurant, a place where they can talk without being overheard. Izzy tells Alexander about the name she found, the connection to organized crime. Alexander is stunned. He knows the man, knows his reputation. He realizes that Izzy is right, that this is much bigger than he thought. He tells her that he'll handle it, that he'll use his influence to protect her and to uncover the truth, but Izzy is adamant. She tells him that she's not going to back down, that she's not going to let him handle it alone. She's come too far, and she's not going to stop now. She tells him that she wants to work with him, that they need to work together to expose the truth. Alexander is hesitant. He knows it's dangerous, that Izzy could be putting herself in even more danger. But he also knows that she's right. They need to work together. He can't protect her by keeping her in the dark. He needs her help, her intelligence, her courage. He agrees to let her work with him, but he makes her promise that she'll be careful, that she won't take any unnecessary risks. Izzy agrees, but she knows that promises are easy to make, harder to keep. She's determined to see this through. No matter the cost, they begin to work together, pooling their resources, their connections, their knowledge. They delve deeper into the world of corporate intrigue, uncovering secrets, exposing lies, and facing danger at every turn. They're playing a dangerous game, a game where the stakes are high and the consequences could be deadly. As they work together, their relationship deepens. They spend more time together, sharing their thoughts, their feelings, their fears. They begin to trust each other, to rely on each other. The attraction that was there from the beginning grows stronger, more intense. They find comfort in each other's arms, a refuge from the storm raging around them, but their growing closeness doesn't go unnoticed. Their enemies are watching, waiting for an opportunity to strike. They know that Izzy is a threat, that she's getting too close to the truth. They decide to take action, to silence her once and for all. One night, Izzy is walking home from a meeting with Alexander. She's alone, lost in her thoughts, unaware of the danger that lurks in the shadows. A car pulls up beside her, and two men jump out. They grab her, forcing her into the car. Izzy struggles, but she's no match for their strength. They gag her and tie her up. She's terrified, knowing that she's been captured, that she's in the hands of her enemies. They drive her to a remote location, an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. They take her inside, tie her to a chair, and leave her alone in a dark room. Izzy is terrified, but she tries to stay calm. She knows she has to be smart, that she has to find a way to escape. Meanwhile, Alexander is frantic. He's been trying to reach Izzy all night, but she's not answering her phone. He knows something is wrong. He calls her friends, her colleagues, but no one has seen her. He's worried sick, fearing the worst. He goes to her apartment, hoping that she's there. But she's not. He finds her phone on the floor, smashed to pieces. He knows that she's been taken, that she's in danger. He vows to find her, to bring her back safe. He calls his security team, tells them to search the city, to find any trace of Izzy. He uses his connections, his influence, to try to locate her. He's determined to rescue her, to protect her from harm. He knows that time is running out, that every second counts. He fears that if he doesn't find her soon, it will be too late. He's desperate, willing to do anything to save her. As Izzy sits tied to the chair in the dark room, she tries to think of a way to escape. She knows she has to be resourceful, to use her wits to outsmart her captors. She listens carefully, trying to hear any sounds that might give her a clue about where she is. She hears a noise, a faint sound coming from another room. She strains her ears, trying to make out what it is. It sounds like a machine, a printing press. She realizes that she's in a printing facility, a place where they might be producing fake documents, counterfeit money, or something else illegal. She also hears voices, men talking in another room. She can't understand what they're saying, but she can tell that they're discussing something important. She tries to listen carefully, hoping to catch a word, a phrase, that might give her a clue about their plans. She hears one of the men mention a name that she recognizes. It's the name of the businessman she and Alexander have been investigating, the man connected to organized crime. She realizes that she's been brought here because of her investigation, that they're trying to silence her, to stop her from exposing the truth. She knows that she has to escape, that she has to warn Alexander about what she's discovered. But she's tied up, helpless. She's tied up, helpless, at the mercy of her captors. But Izzy is not one to give up easily. She's a survivor, a fighter. She starts to wiggle her hands, trying to loosen the ropes that bind her. They're tight, but she's determined to free herself. She works at the knots, slowly, patiently, trying to find a weak spot. Meanwhile, Alexander is leaving no stone unturned in his search for Izzy. He's contacted all of his resources, his network of informants, his security team. He's using every tool at his disposal to find her. He's tracking her phone, but it's been disabled. He's checking security cameras, looking for any sign of her. He's interviewing witnesses, trying to piece together what happened. He's also contacted the police, but they're not being very helpful. They tell him that they're investigating, but they're not making any progress. Alexander knows that he can't rely on them. He has to find her himself. He's driven by a combination of fear and anger. He's afraid for Izzy's safety, afraid that she's being hurt. He's angry at the people who took her, angry at their audacity, their cruelty. He's determined to make them pay. He remembers the name Izzy mentioned, the businessman connected to organized crime. He knows that this is the key, that this man is behind Izzy's abduction. He focuses his efforts on finding him, on uncovering his operation, that he starts digging into the man's background, his business dealings, his connections. He discovers that he's involved in a number of illegal activities, including money laundering, drug trafficking, and arms dealing. He's a dangerous man, a man who will stop at nothing to protect his empire. Alexander knows that he's up against a formidable opponent, a man with vast resources and powerful connections. But he's not afraid. He's determined to bring him down, to expose his crimes, and to rescue Izzy. He gathers his team, tells them what he's discovered. They're ready to follow him, to do whatever it takes to find Izzy and bring her home. They're loyal to him, they respect him, and they know that he'll do the same for them. They plan their next move, deciding to infiltrate the man's operation, to gather evidence of his crimes, and to rescue Izzy. They know it's a risky mission, but they're prepared to take the chance. Meanwhile, Izzy is still trying to free herself. She's managed to loosen the ropes around her wrists, but they're still tight. She's working on the knots, trying to untangle them. She's using her teeth, her nails, anything she can find to help her. She hears the men talking again, their voices closer this time. They're coming into the room. Izzy freezes, pretending to be still tied up. She doesn't want them to know that she's been trying to escape. The men enter the room, one of them carrying a tray of food. They untie her, telling her to eat. Izzy pretends to be compliant, but she's watching them closely, looking for an opportunity to escape. She notices that one of the men is distracted, looking at his phone. She sees her chance. She kicks the other man in the groin, hard. He doubles over in pain. Izzy grabs the tray of food and throws it at the other man, hitting him in the face. He's stunned, giving Izzy a chance to break free. She runs out of the room, into the hallway. She hears the men shouting behind her, chasing her. She runs as fast as she can, trying to find an exit. She's disoriented, lost in the maze of hallways. She hears a door open, and she sees a light. She runs towards it, hoping it's a way out. She bursts through the door and finds herself in a large room, filled with machinery. It's the printing facility she heard earlier. She sees a group of men working at the machines, printing something. She doesn't know what it is, but she knows it's illegal. She sees a way out, a door at the other end of the room. She runs towards it, but the men see her. They stop what they're doing and chase after her. Izzy is trapped. She's surrounded by her captors. They're closing in on her. She knows she has to do something, anything, to escape. She looks around the room, desperate for an idea. She sees a stack of papers on one of the machines. She grabs them and throws them into the air. They flutter down like confetti, distracting the men. Izzy takes her chance and runs towards the door. She reaches the door and bursts through it, finding herself in a dark alley. She runs as fast as she can, not looking back. She doesn't stop running until she reaches the main street. She's safe, for now. But she knows that they'll be looking for her. She has to find Alexander, tell him what she's discovered. She has to expose the truth, bring down the people who are trying to silence her. She calls Alexander, tells him where she is. He tells her to stay there, that he's on his way. He's relieved that she's safe, but he knows that they're still in danger. He knows that they have to act quickly, before it's too late. He arrives at the location, finds Izzy. They embrace, relieved to see each other. They know that they've been through a lot, but they've come out stronger. They're more determined than ever to bring down the people who are trying to destroy them. They go to the police, tell them everything they know. They give them the evidence they've gathered, the names, the dates, the amounts of money. The police are finally convinced. They launch an investigation, raiding the man's properties, arresting his associates. Alexander and Izzy watch as the man's empire crumbles around him. They see him brought to justice, his crimes exposed to the world. They know that they've done the right thing, that they've made a difference, but their story is not over yet. There are still loose ends to tie up, questions to answer. They know that the man they brought down was not acting alone, that there are others involved, others who are still out there, pulling the strings. They're determined to find them, to expose them, to bring them to justice. They know that it's a dangerous game, but they're not afraid. They've faced danger before, and they'll face it again. They're in this together, and they're not going to stop until they've uncovered the whole truth. The tension is at its peak. The audience is on the edge of their seats, wondering what will happen next. Will Alexander and Izzy succeed in bringing down the entire criminal organization? Will they be able to protect themselves from the powerful forces arrayed against them? The climax is approaching, and the answers are about to be revealed. As the police investigation intensifies, Alexander and Izzy find themselves digging deeper into the intricate web of corruption. They're following the money trail, tracing the flow of illicit funds, trying to identify the key players. They discover that the businessman they brought down was just a small part of a much larger organization, a shadowy network of powerful individuals who are pulling the strings from behind the scenes. This network reaches into the highest levels of government, industry, and even law enforcement. They realize that they're not just fighting a criminal organization, they're fighting a system, a deeply entrenched network of corruption that has been operating for years, perhaps decades. The stakes are higher than they ever imagined. They're not just risking their own lives, they're risking the stability of the entire system. As they get closer to the truth, they start to feel the pressure. They're being watched, their phones are being tapped, their movements are being tracked. They receive anonymous threats, warnings to back off. But they're not deterred. They're more determined than ever to expose the truth, to bring down the people who are responsible. They discover a secret meeting, a gathering of the key players in the organization. They know that this is their chance, their opportunity to expose the whole network. They plan to infiltrate the meeting, to gather evidence, to record the conversations. It's a risky operation, but they know it's their only chance. They assemble their team, plan their strategy, and prepare for the mission. They know they're walking into a trap, but they're willing to take the risk. Meanwhile, a new threat emerges, a twist that changes everything. They discover that someone close to them, someone they trusted, is involved in the organization. This betrayal cuts deep, shaking their trust in everyone around them. They realize that they can't trust anyone, that anyone could be working against them. This revelation makes their mission even more dangerous. They don't know who to trust, who to rely on. They're on their own, facing a powerful enemy with no allies. The stakes are higher than ever. Not only are they fighting for justice, they're fighting for their survival. The night of the secret meeting arrives. Alexander and Izzy, along with their team, infiltrate the location, a heavily guarded mansion on the outskirts of the city. They move stealthily, trying to avoid detection. They're equipped with hidden cameras and recording devices, ready to capture the evidence they need. They reach the meeting room, where the key players are gathered. They're discussing their plans, their illegal activities, their web of corruption. Alexander and Izzy are listening, recording everything. They're gathering the evidence they need to bring them down. But their presence is detected. Someone in the room recognizes them, alerts the others. The meeting erupts into chaos. The key players turn on them, trying to silence them. A fight breaks out, a desperate struggle for survival. Alexander and Izzy are outnumbered, but they're not giving up. They fight their way through the crowd, trying to escape. They're trying to protect the evidence they've gathered, the recordings that will expose the whole network. They manage to escape the meeting room, but they're being chased. The key players are determined to capture them, to destroy the evidence. A chase ensues, a desperate race against time. Alexander and Izzy are running for their lives, trying to escape the clutches of their enemies. They're being pursued through the mansion, through the dark corridors, through the secret passages. They're being hunted like prey. The tension is unbearable. The audience is on the edge of their seats, wondering if they'll escape, if they'll survive. The climax is approaching, and the fate of Alexander and Izzy, and the future of justice, hangs in the balance. Will they succeed in exposing the truth? Or will they become victims of the powerful forces they're fighting against? The answers are about to be revealed, the chase intensifies, Alexander and Izzy narrowly escaping their pursuers through the labyrinthine mansion. They're cornered in a hidden library, a room filled with ancient books and forgotten secrets. Their enemies are closing in, the sounds of their footsteps echoing through the corridors. Alexander and Izzy know they're running out of time. They have to make a stand. Alexander grabs a heavy antique vase, ready to defend them. Izzy spots a hidden passage behind a bookshelf. It's their only chance. They push the bookshelf aside, revealing a narrow, dark tunnel. They slip inside, just as their pursuers burst. Into the library. The chase continues through the tunnel, a claustrophobic maze of twists and turns. They emerge into a hidden wine cellar, a vast underground chamber filled with rows of wine bottles. They're momentarily safe, but they know their enemies are still searching for them. They hear voices, the sounds of their pursuers getting closer. They have to find another way out. Izzy notices a loose stone in the wall. She pushes it, revealing another hidden passage. This one is even smaller, barely wide enough to crawl through. They squeeze through the passage, emerging into a secret room, a hidden chamber beneath the mansion. It's a control room, filled with high-tech equipment, screens displaying surveillance footage of the entire property. They realize this is where the organization operates from, the nerve center of their criminal empire. They find the main server, the central hub of their network. It contains all the evidence they need, all the information about their illegal activities, their connections, their money laundering operations. Izzy starts downloading the data, transferring it to a secure drive. Suddenly, the door bursts open, and their pursuers swarm into the room. They're trapped. The key players are there, along with their armed guards. They're surrounded, outnumbered, with no way out. The leader of the organization steps forward, a man they recognize from the meeting. He's the one pulling the strings, the mastermind behind the criminal network. He's calm, composed, confident. He knows he has them cornered. He orders his guards to seize the data, to destroy the evidence. He's about to silence Alexander and Izzy, to eliminate the threat they pose to his empire. But he makes a mistake. He underestimates them. As the guards move in, Alexander and Izzy fight back. They use their wits, their skills, their determination to defend themselves. They're outnumbered, but they're not giving up. They're fighting for justice, for the truth, for their lives. A fierce battle ensues, a chaotic struggle for control of the server, for possession of the evidence. Alexander and Izzy fight bravely, using anything they can find as weapons. They're resourceful, resilient, refusing to be defeated. In the midst of the chaos, Izzy manages to upload the data to a secure cloud server, ensuring that the evidence is safe, that it can't be destroyed. She's secured their victory, even if they don't escape. As the fight reaches its climax, Alexander manages to overpower the leader of the organization, disarming him, exposing him to the authorities who have now arrived, alerted by Izzy's earlier actions. The police raid the control room, arresting the key players, seizing the remaining evidence. The criminal network is dismantled, their operations shut down, justice is served. The corrupt individuals are brought to justice, their crimes exposed to the world. Alexander and Izzy have succeeded in their mission. They've risked everything to expose the truth, and they've prevailed. But the story doesn't end there. There's one final twist, a surprise that no one expects. As the police are taking the key players into custody, one of the guards steps forward. He's not one of the criminals. He's an undercover agent, working for a higher authority, an even more powerful organization. He reveals that the criminal network they brought down was just a small part of a much larger conspiracy, a global network of corruption that reaches into the highest levels of power. He tells them that the real mastermind is still out there, a shadowy figure who controls everything from behind the scenes. He offers Alexander and Izzy a choice: join him, work with him to expose the global conspiracy, to bring down the real mastermind. It's a dangerous mission, even more dangerous than what they've already faced. But it's also their chance to make a real difference, to fight for true justice, to expose the ultimate truth. Alexander and Izzy look at each other, knowing that they've come too far to turn back now. They've faced danger, betrayal, and corruption. They've risked everything for what they believe in. They're not going to stop now. They agree to join the undercover agent, to continue their fight for justice, to expose the global conspiracy. Their journey is not over. It's just beginning. The real battle is yet to come. The fight for truth and justice continues. The revelation of a global conspiracy, a network far more extensive and powerful than they had ever imagined, left Alexander and Izzy reeling. The undercover agent, introducing himself as Agent Thorne, explained the intricate web of influence, the way this shadowy organization manipulated global events, controlled markets, and corrupted governments. It was a chilling picture, a world operating under the surface, a world where power resided not in elected officials, but in the hands of unseen manipulators. Thorne's proposition was simple, yet daunting: join him in dismantling this global network. It meant going deeper undercover, infiltrating circles of unimaginable power, facing dangers beyond anything they had encountered before. It meant leaving behind the relative safety they had found, stepping back into the shadows, a world of deception and constant threat. For Alexander, it was a chance to use his resources, his influence, for a greater purpose. His wealth, once a source of both power and vulnerability, could now be a weapon against true corruption. He saw it as a responsibility, a chance to redeem himself for the compromises he had made in building his empire. For Izzy, it was the ultimate story. The journalist. In her craved the truth, the desire to expose wrongdoing burning brighter than ever. This wasn't just about a local crime ring, this was about global justice, about holding the most powerful people in the world accountable. They agreed. The decision was not taken lightly, but it was made with a shared sense of purpose. They had come too far, seen too much, to turn back now. The fight for justice, for truth, was a fight they were destined to continue. Their journey with Thorne began immediately. He provided them with new identities, new backgrounds, preparing them for their infiltration into the global network. It was a meticulous process, learning new skills, studying complex financial transactions, understanding the nuances of international politics. They were being molded into players in a dangerous game, where one wrong move could cost them everything. Their first target was a high-profile summit, a gathering of world leaders and influential figures, many of whom were secretly connected to the global conspiracy. They had to identify the key players, gather evidence of their involvement, and expose their agenda to the world. The summit was a whirlwind of power and deceit. Alexander, using his connections in the business world, mingled with the elite, gaining their trust, subtly probing for information. Izzy, using her journalistic skills and her new identity, worked behind the scenes, uncovering hidden agendas, piecing together the puzzle of the conspiracy. They discovered that the global network was not just about money and power, it was about control. Control of resources, control of information, control of the very fabric of society. They were manipulating global events to their advantage, creating chaos and instability to further their own agenda. Their investigation led them to a secret organization, a shadowy group known only as the Syndicate. This was the inner circle, the core of the global conspiracy. They were the ones pulling the strings, orchestrating events from the shadows. Infiltrating the Syndicate was their most dangerous mission yet. They had to gain access to their inner sanctum, a heavily guarded fortress hidden deep within a remote mountain range. It was a mission impossible, but they were determined to succeed. They planned their infiltration meticulously, using all their skills and resources. Alexander used his wealth to bribe officials, creating a diversion, opening a window of opportunity. Izzy used her intelligence and charm to gain access to the inner circle, posing as a journalist with valuable information. They infiltrated the fortress, navigating the maze of corridors, bypassing security systems, avoiding detection. They reached the inner sanctum, a vast chamber where the leaders of the Syndicate were gathered. They witnessed their plans, their schemes, their vision for a world under their control. It was a chilling revelation, a glimpse into the darkest corners of power. They gathered the evidence they needed, recording their conversations, documenting their activities, but their presence was detected. The syndicate knew they were there. They were trapped. The leaders of the syndicate turned on them, their true faces revealed, their malevolence exposed. A confrontation ensued, a battle of wills, a struggle for survival. Alexander and Izzy fought bravely, using all their skills and training. They were outnumbered, but they were not afraid. They were fighting for the world, for justice, for the truth. In the chaos, Izzy managed to transmit the evidence to Agent Thorne, exposing the syndicate's plans to the world. The information was leaked to the press, broadcast across the globe. The world watched in shock as the truth was revealed, the global conspiracy exposed, governments were overthrown, corrupt officials were arrested, and the syndicate's network crumbled. The global conspiracy was shattered, their power broken. Justice prevailed, but the fight was not over. The real mastermind was still out there, the shadowy figure who controlled everything from behind the scenes. He was the one they had to bring down, the ultimate target of their mission. Their pursuit of the mastermind led them across the globe, through a series of dangerous encounters, close calls, and narrow escapes. They faced assassins, spies, and double agents, all trying to stop them from reaching the truth. They discovered that the mastermind was not just a powerful individual, he was an idea, a symbol of corruption, a representation of the darkest aspects of human nature. He was the embodiment of greed, power, and control. Bringing him down was not just about capturing one man, it was about dismantling the system that allowed him to exist, the system that perpetuated corruption and injustice. It was about changing the world, making it a better place. The final confrontation took place in a remote location, a hidden fortress high in the mountains. The mastermind was there, surrounded by his loyal followers, protected by his vast resources. Alexander and Izzy, along with Agent Thorne and a team of international agents, launched an assault on the fortress. It was a desperate battle, a fight for the future of the world. They fought their way through the fortress, facing countless obstacles, overcoming impossible odds. They reached the mastermind's chamber, the final showdown. The mastermind was there, waiting for them. He was not what they expected. He was not a powerful figure, a charismatic leader. He was an ordinary man, a man driven by greed and ambition, a man who had manipulated the system to his advantage. The confrontation was not a physical battle, it was a battle of ideas, a clash of ideologies. The mastermind argued for his vision of a world under his control, a world where power was concentrated in the hands of the few. Alexander and Izzy countered with their vision of a world where justice prevailed, where everyone was equal, where power belonged to the people. They argued for the values of democracy, freedom, and equality. The battle raged, a war of words, a clash of principles. In the end, it was not force that defeated the mastermind, it was the power of truth, the strength of justice, the will of the people. The mastermind's empire crumbled, his influence vanished, his power dissipated. He was exposed for what he was, an ordinary man who had exploited the system for his own gain. Justice was served. The world was changed. The global conspiracy was dismantled, the network of corruption broken. The fight for truth and justice had been won. Alexander and Izzy returned to their lives, changed by their experiences, strengthened by their trials. They had faced danger, betrayal, and corruption. They had risked everything for what they believed in. And they had prevailed. They had proven that money cannot buy everything, that power is not absolute, that even the most powerful people can be brought down by the truth. They had shown that love, courage, and determination can conquer all. Their story became a legend, a testament to the power of the human spirit, reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can prevail, justice can triumph, and love can conquer all. They had shown the world that even a billionaire CEO and a determined journalist could make a difference, that together, they could change the world. And they lived happily ever after.